Morel Park residents sharing surveillance video of a murder in the middle of a day. Why they say scenes like this are too common in their neighborhood and how one group is stepping in to help. An update to the June mass shooting in Annapolis, the new charges the suspect is facing. Plus, a murder investigation in Baltimore County, what we know about the deadly shooting in Woodlawn.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. It has been 3 weeks since the mass shooting at the Brooklyn homes, and Fox 45 News continues to question the response to it, especially when it comes to the Safe Streets program. Tonight, growing calls for transparency from the violence intervention groups surrounding that shooting and more. Brooklyn homes not the only neighborhood rocked by violence. Today, the Guardian Angels held a public safety meeting in a southwest Baltimore community as residents say they are being overrun by crime and drugs. Fox 45's Vincent Hill was at that meeting. He has the details.
Residents of the Morel community met here at this church, and they say they want the same things that they would get in a Fed Hill or Fells Point when it comes to cleaning up crime.
The Morel Park community, residents frustrated with violent crime they say is on the rise. One resident showing us this surveillance video of a recent murder.
Guy got murdered broad daylight, right in front of my house.
The victim is seen running away seconds later. Today, the Guardian Angels addressing that rise in crime.
We've all been hit by the crime. We've all been hit by the drug addicts. We've all been hit by the downfalls of the things that make our communities look bad.
And listening to the frustration of residents.
Why does it always have to be at the expense of us?
Visibly upset about open-air drug markets they say is driving that spike in crime.
As law-abiding citizens, why can't we get the police to arrest the people that are behind the Dunkin' Donuts and lock them up?
Councilwoman Felicia Porter of the 10th District answering some of those questions.
So we did ask with our law department.
According to BPD data, so far this year, Morel Park has seen 48 auto thefts, 15 burglaries, and 73 larcenies. Last month, Fox 45 spoke with residents in the area about recent homicides.
It's getting bad.
It's normal to hear a gunshot now.
I want to live the same way the people in Fed Hill do.
Giovanni Patterson with the group Peace, calling that frustration a failure to communicate.
There's been a breakdown on, multiple levels from, City Hall to within a lot of our neighborhoods, from police.
Patterson says it's time for the community to come together.
It's really just up to the people just to start standing up.
Not against the criminals, but against their city leaders.
It's accountability and transparency all around. We do need the laws to be enforced.
Now, according to that BPD data, there have been 14 robberies here in the area this year, and a car is stolen every other day. In Baltimore, Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Well, the Guardian Angels have spoken about the Safe Streets program, and in the wake of the July 2nd mass shooting at Brooklyn homes, the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement says Safe Streets workers were at the Brooklyn Day block party before that shooting and mediated some conflicts. We're told those workers, though, did not tell police. The Guardian Angels criticizing the lack of communication and transparency.
You can't have people with guns and knives and stuff and not tell the police, especially when you are funded to help with this. That's what you're doing. You're the flagship group. How can you not make a phone call and say, hey, this is going
Critics say Johns Hopkins should have funded it on its own, questioning if it's biased because of the price tag.
I think that it raises a lot of questions about the methodology that was used, how sound it is. Let's not forget that the former state's attorney, Marilyn Mosby, also used a study that was a Johns Hopkins study to tout the supposed success of her policies, but we know that didn't go over very well.
Well, you can find more on that study as well as all of our original reporting on the Safe Streets program on our website, foxbaltimore.com. The man charged in the June mass shooting in Annapolis is now facing hate crime charges. Police say 43-year-old Charles Robert Smith shot 6 people. 3 of them died. All were Hispanic. Neighbors say the shooting stemmed from a dispute over parking. The Anne Arundel County State's Attorney's Office says a grand jury indicted Smith on all 42 counts Friday, including the 3 hate crime charges and 3 counts of first-degree murder. He is expected in court next week. Baltimore County Police investigating a murder. It happened just before 9:30 last night along Lucerne Road in Woodlawn. Police say 49-year-old Sean Stewart was shot outside a residence. He was taken to the hospital where he died. Authorities say the shooting happened during a gathering, but wouldn't give many details about how big that gathering was, the circumstances leading up to the shooting, or really any information on any suspects.
Right now, officers are trying to determine if this was an isolated incident or a targeted incident. More information will be released once detectives finish their investigation. We just tell everyone to go about their lives as normal. If you have any trouble or if you have any issues, please call 911.
In Wicomico County, Maryland State Police arrested a 16-year-old in connection with a shooting in Salisbury. Police say officers responded to a report of shots fired just after 9 last night. They say 3 people were shot at, but none were hurt. The teen suspect has been identified as Bryant Brown Clark. He's being charged as an adult. And take a look at this. This is the damage left behind at a Finksburg Plaza shopping center in Carroll County after police say a suspect tried to steal an ATM. Maryland State Police say it happened early this morning. They say a suspect used a stolen truck and trailer to steal the ATM, but was not successful. Police say the suspect ran away before officers even arrived, leaving the stolen truck and trailer behind. Anybody with information should call police.
And after our first dry weekend, totally dry weekend in weeks, well, it stays dry this early evening, but as we work to tonight and overnight, there could be a stray shower. Notice some of the clouds increasing. Computer models have been coming in a little bit drier overnight, so when you do wake up, temperatures near 70, it will turn more muggy. And notice what happens into tomorrow afternoon by 1 through 3, 4, 5 o'clock. Some of those spotty storms develop. I'll let you know how long those last and when we could have highs approaching 100 around here. That's in my Weather Authority forecast.
Jonathan, thanks. Baltimore's one-time power couple no more. Nick and Marilyn Mosby are getting divorced. How it could impact the federal case against the former city state's attorney.
Border apprehensions down, but worries on the rise. I'm Christine Frizan with a look at some new policies put into place and the challenges they're facing.
As former City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby prepares for her federal trial this fall, she is splitting from her husband, City Council President Nick Mosby. She filed for a limited divorce last week. That's Marilyn's version of a legal separation, allowing spouses to settle issues like dividing assets and creating child custody terms. One expert Fox 45 News spoke with says the divorce could impact the trial.
You have somebody who potentially could testify against Marilyn Mosby in a very material way. On the other hand, he has to be careful that he doesn't irritate her too much because he's going to be involved in divorce proceedings. I think it's a story because of the intertwining of her trial and a divorce proceeding. What does that motivate him to say or not to say? That's the critical question.
Well, the defense team for the former City State's attorney wants separate trials for the charges she faces. Her lawyers say a combined trial on the perjury and mortgage fraud accusations would confound the jury and could lead to improper convictions. The defense also asking for the trial to be moved out of Baltimore City, claiming media coverage of the case tainted the jury pool. A decision on that request is expected sometime next month. Jury selection for her trial is set to begin October 31st. Well, tonight, a looming deadline along the southern border as the state of Texas faces legal action over its approach to dealing with challenges stemming from large numbers of migrants making their way to the region. As Christine Frizzell reports, it comes as the entire country is facing a reckoning about what to do moving forward.
A floating buoy barrier to try to prevent migrants from crossing the Rio Grande, ordered to be removed immediately, following reports of a spike in injuries from the razor wire. The Department of Justice now threatening legal action, stating the barriers, quote, violate federal law, raise humanitarian concerns, and present serious risks to public safety and the environment. Governor Greg Abbott responding on Twitter, writing, Texas has the sovereign authority to defend our border. We will see you in court, Mr. President. Meanwhile, New York City, which has taken in more than 90,000 migrants in the last year, is now implementing new restrictions. 60-day notices to asylum seekers already in shelters, others just arriving, given flyers saying there is no shelter available, urging them to find somewhere else to go.
Right now, we have no space, so wherever they can wait, they are waiting.
Clear on the other side of the country in Los Angeles, the 5th bus of migrants from Texas has also just arrived. City officials scrambling to keep up as new warnings have come down that nearly 1,000 migrants, mostly from Venezuela, are making their way toward this country now.
Bottom line is people in these countries are hearing from their friends or family, their fellow countrymen, that it's easy to get into the United States.
Still, there has been a significant decrease in encounters at the southern border. The latest numbers showing 144,000 in June, a 30% decrease from the previous month.
The president has done everything that he can with the tools that he has to put forward a humane process. And we see that that process is working.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is set to testify on Capitol Hill next week, where some Democrats will make the case those new policies violate the law. And Republicans will likely argue that the decrease in numbers last month was a result of higher temperatures and of migrants showing up at the ports of entry rather than being apprehended between them. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Well, the chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee says he is worried about the American soldier who crossed into North Korea last week.
I think it was more running from his problems. That was the wrong place to go. But, you know, we see this with Russia, China, Iran. When they take an American, particularly a soldier, captive, they exact a price for that. And that's what I worry about.
Speaking on ABC today, Texas Congressman Mike McCall also expressed concerns about the treatment of Private Second Class Travis King is receiving. The 23-year-old is believed to be imprisoned in North Korea. Defense officials say he was facing disciplinary charges and was scheduled to fly back to the United States, but he instead joined a tour and ran across the border. The White House says the U.S. is working to secure his release. Former President Donald Trump is facing a special counsel investigation regarding the January 6th Capitol riots. His rival candidate, Vivek Ramaswamy, defended him on Fox News today.
That judgment is not the same thing as a crime. And when we conflate the two, that sets a dangerous precedent for this country. I don't want to see us become some banana republic where the party in power uses police force to arrest its political opponents.
Other candidates have made similar statements, including Mike Pence and Senator Tim Scott. But speaking on CBS today, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie says they're just afraid.
I heard Tim Scott yesterday say that, like, well, it's not really the president's fault. Well, the president invited them there. He incited them by telling them the election had been stolen, and then he requested that they march up to the Capitol, and of course, like Donald Trump, said that he would march with them, and then immediately marched right back to the safety of the White House.
Trump's legal woes also include indictments for keeping classified documents and for an alleged financial cover-up regarding hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels.
Well, after a nice Sunday and actually a nice Saturday, the first fully dry weekend that we've had in weeks around here, we're tracking some chances of showers and thunderstorms increasing. Notice to the south and west around Front Royal, Charlottesville, Richmond, there are some spotty storms here. A lot of them have not made it a lot farther north than that, but we'll still be tracking these and seeing if some of these make their way closer to us during the overnight hours. Now, as we kind of give a little bit of oomph to these into tomorrow, as temperatures warm back to the mid to upper 80s with more humidity, could see some of these try to make it closer to us. And maybe tomorrow afternoon, there could be some isolated to spotty storms around. So the first chance of rain that we've had, at least in a couple of days. And of course, it's back to work. 79 degrees here in Baltimore right now, 77 at Cockeysville, right near 80 at Annapolis and Stevensville, after a high of 89 in Baltimore. We've actually had a little vacation from the 90s over the past few days, and it's felt pretty good. I know that. I was out with my kids walking the dog today. It felt nice. 93 degrees at Westminster, the high temperature, 90 degrees at Frederick. Temperatures mid to upper 80s along the eastern shore for high temperatures. But all that beautiful low humidity and temperatures just shy of 90, it's all going by the wayside. Take a look at what happens for tomorrow. This is our dew point trend, or the measure of moisture in the air. Going to pump up to 69. That's uncomfortable to miserable, as you see on the map here or on the chart. Basically, the dew point's a measure of moisture in the air. The higher it gets, the worse it feels. The higher the heat index goes. And look at this. It's going to start feeling like well into the hundreds by the end of this week. So for now, dry and nice. But take a look down to the south. There's rain, humidity. I think, again, some of that rain tries to work in. Late tonight, there could be maybe a shower, but computer models have been trending a bit drier. Temperature settling to near 70. By lunchtime tomorrow, there are your spot showers and thunderstorms. Not everyone sees it, but if you get one, there could be a downpour. Goes through about 4:45 to 6:30 north and west. And then maybe another couple of spot storms through just after sunset. That then moves east and diminishes. Could see another round of isolated showers and maybe a thunderstorm on Tuesday. 70 degrees, mostly cloudy. Few showers for tonight. Could see a spot storm. Again, the trending is drier, but for tomorrow, humidity's up. More clouds than sun, some scattered storms in the afternoon, isolated afternoon storm Tuesday, and then big time heat Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Could be mid to maybe upper 90s by the end of the week. Hopefully another cold front comes through by Saturday, leaving us nicer by next Sunday.
Jonathan, thank you. We could be just days away from an historic workers' strike, the latest in negotiations between UPS and the Teamsters. Plus, a much-anticipated weekend at the movies. A look at some of the early numbers for the Barbie movie and how it compares to Oppenheimer. Well, the clock is ticking for a strike vote that would involve thousands of UPS workers nationwide. The current contract between the delivery giant and the Teamsters Union is up a week from tomorrow. At a rally yesterday, the union president said 95% of the contract has been negotiated.
We do not get a deal. UPS has chose to strike themselves, and we will withhold our labor July 31st at 12:01 a.m. But if we get a tentative agreement subject to ratification and we're going to recommend it, then we will not withhold our labor.
Well, according to the Teamsters spokesperson, negotiators from the two sides will meet in Washington on Tuesday. Elon Musk is announcing plans to change Twitter's logo from the beloved blue bird to an X. In a series of posts last night, he said he's looking to make the changes as soon as tomorrow. It would be the latest in a series of changes Musk has imposed on the social media app that he bought. It comes as Twitter faces new competition from Threads, a similar app launched earlier this month by Facebook parent company Meta. Well, Barbie is dominating the box office so far this weekend. The new movie took in more than $70 million in North American theaters Friday alone. That sets the film on track to bring in roughly $155 million for its domestic opening weekend, putting it on pace to be the biggest start for a female-directed movie. The Barbie movie is beating out another highly anticipated film's first weekend. Oppenheimer earned $33 million on Friday. Well, major concerns about staffing shortages in hospitals across the nation. A look at what's behind those shortages in tonight's Full Measure report. Hospitals are facing critical staffing shortages across the nation. In tonight's Full Measure, Cheryl Atkinson traces some of it back to the pandemic.
My name is Dr. Venu Gilapalli. I was on staff at Houston Methodist The Woodlands and got suspended and ultimately terminated due to the vaccine mandate.
You did not want to get vaccinated?
No.
Dr. Venu Gilapalli is among an outspoken group of medical professionals once affiliated with Houston Methodist. Methodist was the first hospital system in the nation to require COVID vaccines. It's rare to find medical professionals from such a prominent hospital system speaking on camera on the topic, punished, they say, for using independent medical judgment, which they consider a hallmark of sound medicine. Dr. Mary Crow is an oncologist hematologist who, like Dr. Giuliopoli, lost privileges to practice medicine at Methodist for refusing the vaccine.
You have the right to put up your hand and say, what the hell is going on here? Please explain this to me, and not risk obliteration of your personal and professional life.
Houston Methodist began firing unvaccinated employees in June of 2021. With Houston Methodist leading the pack, within 3 months it was reported that at least 174 health systems were mandating COVID vaccines. But these seasoned professionals claim the vaccine mandate didn't make patients safer at all. Owen Robinson is a critical care registered nurse.
At that time, the management in the Methodist ICU forced 2 nurses to come in sick, positive with COVID, with symptoms, fevers, and take care of patients in the ICU.
We wanted to hear Houston Methodist's side of the story, but a spokesman declined our interview request and did not answer our questions. In an interview in June of 2021, Methodist CEO Dr. Boom said the hospital's policies were safety and science-driven.
We have a set of very, very strong values as an institution that puts patients at the center. So when people say to me, I don't want to put patients at the center by their actions, yeah, they're not people who are a fit for our organization.
Meantime, industry insiders are pointing to a global crisis in healthcare staffing. In New York, 100% of hospitals are reporting nursing shortages. Texas, where Methodist is based, is also said to be suffering an ongoing hospital staffing crisis. In a statement, Methodist told us, we are not having nurse shortages.
That's a big problem.
Whatever the case, this group insists that punishing highly credentialed healthcare professionals for their medical judgment will translate to poor patient care in the larger picture. A court has ordered New York City to reinstate 1,750 workers fired over the mandate with back pay. The city is appealing. For Full Measure, I'm Cheryl Atkinson.
And you can watch Full Measure Sundays on Fox 45 at 10 a.m. Well, the O's take 3 of 4 against the Rays and leave the Sunshine State with a series win. How the Birds got it done against their AL East foe. That's coming up next on Sports Unlimited. The Maryland Zoo posting another adorable video of its rescued river otter pup. Take a look at this. The little otter is drying herself off on a pile of towels. The zoo says while otters' fur is waterproof, drying off is important to regulate their body temperature. In the wild, otters will rub themselves on the ground to dry off. The otter pup was rescued in May, and the zoo says she is growing and improving every day. She is adorable. That's all for the news at 10. I'm Mary Bubala. Thank you so much for watching. Morgan Adsit and Rocco DeSangro join us now with Sports Unlimited. Morgan and Rocco.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. Coming up tonight on Sports Unlimited, this is the final week without Ravens football as training camp begins in just a few days.
Yeah, they're going to have to take a back seat for now, though, because the Orioles went to the Trop tied for first place and left with the lead by 2 games.
That they did. The O's have already traded for a bullpen arm ahead of the August 1st deadline. But what else does this team need? Ryan Ripken joins us in studio to break it all down.
But back to those Ravens, it appears they will have Rashad Bateman for training camp. The unusual roster move on Friday that was changed today for the receiver.
All right, since we're talking Ravens training camp, OBJ hosted a camp of his own. His motivation ahead of year 1 in Baltimore. That's coming up next on Sports Unlimited. What's going on, everyone? Welcome into Sports Unlimited. She's Morgan Adsit. I'm Rocco DeSangro. This is the final week without Ravens football as they hope. That's the case until mid-February, Morgan. They're hoping for a Super Bowl run. They'll report to camp later this week.
Yeah, and the Orioles hope they keep leading shows off until early November after they entered Tampa Bay tied for the AL East lead, and now they own it by multiple games. Here's how they won the 4-game series at the Trop, already up 1-0. Gunnar Henderson. The summer power is unreal. Clobbers it 446 feet to center with Adam Frazier on 3-0 Birds. While the Rays got a run, no hits were given up by Tyler Wells after some walks and hit batters, but here's the first one in the 5th. Yandy Diaz evens the game with a 2-run shot of his own, 3-3 ball game. Next inning, don't worry, Ryan O'Hearn, an unlikely thought at the start of the season until he got his roster opportunity, and I don't think he's giving it back to Ryan Mountcastle. Banks open, just barely getting over the wall. O's back with the lead 4-3. Felix Bautista closes the door for the 28th time, and the O's get the series win. 5-3 final. Let's check out those standings in first place, Birds. The Orioles have a 2-game lead now on the Rays after taking 3 of 4 in the series. The Blue Jays are 6.5 back. New York and Boston in a battle to stay out of last place.
Ryan Ripken joining us for another segment on Sports Unlimited, talking O's baseball. Rip, the O's go down to St. Petersburg and they beat the Rays at their place for the first time since 2017. It's been a long time since they won on the road at Tampa.
Well, it has, but I mean, no bigger series than the one that just took place. And honestly, it was so great to see. And it was a heavyweight fight, to be honest. The two best teams in the American League going at it, and everyone really made an impact. Gunnar Henderson, you're seeing the brilliance and him emerging into the superstar that he is. Ryan O'Hearn had big hits. Michael Baumann today, to me, had the best relief performance for the Orioles, going 2 2/3 when the bullpen was tired. And obviously, Felix Bautista has been excellent, closes it out, and the Orioles are 2 games up going to Philly.
Mentioned a guy I wanted to talk about, Felix Bautista. You put out a tweet that you believe he should be in Cy Young consideration. You're telling O's fans to start beating that drum. Why do you feel like that should be the case?
Well, here's the thing, and in the tweet, if you haven't seen it, there's 30 pitchers in the American League that are leading in strikeouts, right? Felix is the 30th ranked one, but I want to just make this point. Felix is the only reliever on that list. That's right, and he has an ERA below 1, he has 28 saves, and he's on the best team in baseball. So regardless of what you think, Felix Bautista has been a big reason why the Orioles have so much success, and he deserves that consideration.
He has been the most consistent arm in the pen by far. The O's go out pre-deadline acquisition, and they trade for Shintaro Fujinami from the A's. They get a bullpen arm. You said you wanted that last week. They did it. What else do they need come trade deadline? It's August 1st. It's coming up.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think it's going to be a bat, to be honest. I still think it's going to be pitching because we're talking about if Wells is on a pitch limit or, Grayson Rodriguez, John Means coming back, you're going to need arms. So I expect either maybe another starting pitcher, but I really think it's bullpen because after the deadline passes, you're set with all you got.
We're going to talk about all of that and so much more on a brand new episode of Rip and Rock. Episodes drop every Monday, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Rock, thanks for joining us again. Sports Unlimited. Appreciate it, man.
Hey, anytime.
Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins did not participate this offseason with the Ravens, but was busy on social media discussing his unknown future with the team. The Ravens, they don't have a lot of extra cash to pay or overpay a running back who's missed an entire season and half of last year due to injury. It's a theme around the league with running backs. Rent them on rookie deals, don't buy them. Yeah, it's not fair, but it's happening to much more proven players this season, and why the Giants' Saquon Barkley and Raiders' Josh Jacobs might sit out camp. Several running backs met this weekend via Zoom to discuss their low market. Dobbins, Barkley, Jacobs, and Cleveland's Nick Chubb, some of those. Sadly, not a lot they can do except talk until something happens via the Players Union and CBA changes. The Ravens made a number of roster moves Friday. Dobbins, one of those. He'll start camp on the physically unable to perform list with 4 others. Linebacker Tyus Bowser on the non-football injury list, and receiver Rashad Bateman on the reserve did not report list. Not great, but today he's been activated off that list. So Bateman reported we could see him Wednesday at camp practice number 1. But he did miss minicamp after a cortisone shot in his surgically repaired foot. Not to mention this offseason, GM Eric DeCosta fired some shots saying he has to draft better receivers.